Hey everyone! Tonight we're going way back, like thousands of years back, to a time when deodorant wasn't even a concept. Breakfast was basically sand with a side of wind, and manual labor definitely didn't come with meal vouchers. Yep, we're heading straight to ancient Egypt. That wonderful era where you woke up just to haul stones under the blazing sun for hours on end, all to build a pyramid that wasn't yours, not your cousin's, not your neighbor's. It was for the pharaoh. Always for the pharaoh. But don't worry, you won't have to push any real limestone blocks. Just listen. So dim the lights, fluff your pillow, and get ready for another boring and strangely relaxing story about an absolutely terrible day in human history. All right. Welcome to ancient Egypt. You've just woken up, but not in a palace. No golden columns, no petal-filled baths. You wake up itchy. You're not sure if it's the heat, a tick, or some kind of rash. Probably all three. Your mattress, packed sand. Your blanket, a piece of linen that's seen better days. Probably about 300 summers ago. You sit up, try to stretch, and instantly regret it. Your back cracks like a poorly built wooden door. The sun is already punishing the world outside, and the only shade your hut offers comes from a broken jar and the moral support of a random cat that decided it lives with you now. Because yes, Egyptian cats did whatever they wanted. You didn't. Around you, other people are waking up. The people who work with you. The ones who snore, sneeze, and sometimes sleep with their eyes open. Everyone's sweating before they've even had their first sip of water, which, by the way, comes straight from the Nile, with a light hint of mud, protozoa, and hope. You think, at least I'll eat something before work. Spoiler alert, you won't. But before food, let's talk hygiene. Because yes, it gets worse. You woke up itchy, sandy in all the wrong places, and with a neighbor snoring like he swallowed a wet trumpet. Your first thought is, I need to clean up. That's adorable. You stand. Your bare feet press into the packed earth, which is served as floor, bed, and occasionally, bathroom. You head toward the bathing area, which is a generous term for a shared bucket of questionable water, and thus begins the Egyptian hygiene ritual. Spoiler, it's disappointing. The water comes from the Nile. The same Nile that brings life, food, transportation, and as a bonus, parasites, human waste, and floating offerings. You lower your jar and try not to look at the dead fish drifting nearby. This is what you'll wash your face with, or attempt to. The jar is slimy. It smells like warm fish, but you have no options, and no dignity left to protect. You splash your face. Now you're wet, and still dirty. Congratulations, hygiene complete. 0% effective. 100% resignation. Now, your teeth. Brushing your teeth in ancient Egypt was more about friction than cleanliness. No toothbrush, no toothpaste, no minty rinse. You grab a twig, chew the end until it frays into a little brush, and scrub with sand or fireplace ash. It feels like sanding your gums with drywall paper. The taste? Damp firewood with a hint of despair. But everyone does it, including the guy next to you, smiling proudly, while his last two teeth wobble dangerously. You wonder, is this how it ends? Yes it is. Thinking about a bath? That's funny. Bath is more of an idea, an unreachable ideal. It technically exists, but it requires time, privacy, and clean water. You have none of those. At best, you've got a damp cloth that dried 3 days ago. To clean yourself, you use oil. The Egyptians used scented oils to remove dirt, which in practice means rubbing grease all over your body and scraping it off with a bronze spatula. If you're rich, if you're not, you use your fingernails and hope you look cleaner afterward. The result? You're still dirty, just fragrant. A lightly breaded chicken made of sand and lavender. Armpits? Oily. Neck? Sticky. You feel like a pastry waiting to be fried, except this pastry is about to haul stones in the sun. Glamorous? Not even close. And the bathroom? That's a concept far too advanced for a pyramid worker. You hide behind a bush, lower your clothes, pray there isn't a scorpion nearby, and handle your business. Cleaning up afterward? Leaves, sand, or if you're lucky, a scrap of old linen. Toilet paper? Check back in about 4,000 years. Back to your corner now, officially clean. Heavy quotation marks included. And you're hungry. But like everything in the life of an Egyptian laborer, hunger isn't solved with pleasure. It's solved with whatever's available. Welcome to breakfast. The first meal of the day, if we can call it that, starts with bread. But not just any bread. This bread could double as a sculpting tool. Hard, gritty, textured like porous stone. This is the standard worker's bread, made with poorly sifted flour, because sieves were a luxury, baked in makeshift ovens and served with love. Just kidding. No love at all. Just anger and yeast. Every bite is a dental trauma. The sand mixed into the dough acts like a miniature enamel polisher. Not that there's much enamel left to polish. Your teeth grind like rusty hinges with every chew. And to wash it down, the star of the table, Egyptian beer. Yes, beer for breakfast. But don't get excited. It's thick, warm, fermented from old bread scraps and slightly questionable barley. The flavor? Vinegar, with a side of sadness. You sip slowly, because it's either this or contaminated water with a hint of crocodile funk. Onions. Sometimes there are onions. Raw, sharp, chewed like fruit. Some say it strengthens the body. Others say it just masks the smell of sweat. Truth is, it doesn't change much. It just burns your already irritated gums a little more. Want fruit? There isn't any. Cheese? Maybe on a festival day. Yogurt? You don't even own a spoon. Just your hands. And the quiet wish to be anywhere else in history. Overall, the meal doesn't nourish you. It just keeps you from passing out during the first 2 hours of work. And as the sun climbs higher over the horizon, you start getting ready. Because now comes every worker's favorite part of the day, pushing tons of stone with the help of a stick and 3 severely dehydrated coworkers. But hold on. Before we even talk about the job itself, we need to put on the official uniform of humiliation. Yes, let's talk about clothes. Getting dressed in ancient Egypt wasn't about style. It was about surviving the heat, the dust, and whatever judgment the gods might be handing out that day. Spoiler, it still gets worse. You look at your outfit for the day. Outfit is a generous word. It's a piece of linen, thin, rough, permanently stained. And that's it. No underwear, no extra layers, no socks, no emotional support garments. You wear what you have. And what you have is the same thing you wore yesterday, and the day before that, and every day since the last flooding of the Nile. Linen may be light, but it doesn't help much. It traps sweat like a sponge full of resentment. 10 minutes walking in the sun, and your tunic is glued to your body, like a second layer of skin, a smelly one. And don't imagine there's a wardrobe. You have one outfit, singular. When it rips, you sew it. When it gets misplaced, you panic. When it disappears for good, you borrow your neighbor's. It's a circular economy of bodies and mites. Sandals? What sandals? If you're lucky, you've got a scrap of leather tied with plant fibers that hurt more than they protect. But honestly, most people go barefoot on burning ground, covered in rocks, droppings, and the occasional scorpion. A true involuntary reflexology spa. And your hair? Shaving it off is easier. Most men, and women too, kept their heads shaved. Why? Heat, lice, convenience. You spend less time scratching and more time suffering. But if you're rich, you can wear a wig. Yes, a wig made of human hair, glued on with beeswax, under 100-degree heat. Basically, a personal microwave for your skull. And since we're talking about your head, let's talk about makeup. Yes, makeup. You apply a little kohl around your eyes, that classic black eyeliner look. Not to look stylish, but because the mineral powder helps reflect sunlight and supposedly keeps bad spirits away. Does it work on ghosts? Who knows? On mosquitoes? Also number. Now you're dressed in your sweaty linen rag, questionable sandals, and a streak of black around your eyes that's already melting down your face. You're ready. Or almost. You still have to sling your tool bag over your shoulder. Yes, tools, your wooden shovel, your rope made of plant fiber, your emotional lower back pain. All tied together with string, balanced on your shoulder, dripping sweat down your collarbone. And sunscreen? Of course not. What you do have is mud. Some people smear mud on their bodies to prevent burns. Does it work? Not really. But at least you smell like the river and look like an abandoned statue. You step outside. The sun is already screaming. You walk to the meeting point with the other workers, all dressed in the same level of elegance. Sweat-glued tunics, calloused feet, expressions of eternal resignation. Nobody talks much, not because they're focused, but because talking uses energy. And energy is exactly what you'll need to haul 2-ton limestone blocks, powered entirely by your soul. The pyramid is only halfway done. The overseer is in a bad mood. The foreman has a stick. And the heat is just getting started. But before you face the slope of the construction site, let's take a moment to appreciate the work environment. Because now comes the most relaxing part of your morning, almost getting crushed by a rock. Welcome to HR. Human resources. No, humiliating crawling. You walk toward the construction site. Sky is boiling. The ground is too. The pyramid rises on the horizon, like a permanent reminder that your entire life will be spent stacking stones the size of huts, until the day your body simply gives out. You're not alone. Around you are hundreds, maybe thousands, of other workers, all wearing the same socially accepted scrap of fabric, carrying ropes, levers, and worn-out hope. You're part of a construction system built on 3 basic principles: brute strength, worn-out ropes, and a complete absence of logic. There are no cranes, no tractors, no helmets, just your arms, your sweat, and a deep desire to please a pharaoh you've never even seen, but who somehow demands geometric perfection under threat of spiritual consequences. Your immediate supervisor is a scribe. He doesn't lift stones. He walks around with a sheet of papyrus, calmly taking notes on who's working, who's pretending, and who faints. If you stop for more than 3 minutes, he scratches your name down in hieroglyphs that probably translate to something between useless and future punishment candidate. Your day starts by pushing a limestone block. And when I say block, I don't mean that metaphorically. It's a 2-ton stone sitting on a wooden sled that creaks the same way your knees do when you squat. You and 8 other men grab ropes and drag this monster across a makeshift track of logs. Every foot you move it, the stone feels heavier. The sun feels closer. The air feels like it's made of dust, sweat, and bad decisions. But you keep going, because stopping isn't an option. Literally, the overseer has a stick. And he knows how to use it. If you think your gym workout is intense, try bench pressing 2-ton blocks while someone shouts orders in ancient Egyptian and a goat chews on your leg. Halfway up the incline, your foot slips. The stone slides back a few inches. Everyone yells. You reset. You pull again. All that effort, just to move it another few feet. And the pyramid? It has thousands of these blocks. Congratulations. Only 978 more to go. Sometimes you get lucky, and you're assigned to carry water. But don't get excited. This isn't a break. You walk miles to the Nile, fill a heavy jar, then walk back, sweating even harder, delivering it so other workers can drink, or pour it on the ground in front of the sleds. The water reduces friction. It also attracts mosquitoes, a lot of them. Yes, you get bitten constantly. Legs, arms, neck. You're basically an open-air buffet. And Egyptian mosquitoes aren't amateurs. They've tasted the blood of princes, camels, and unsuspecting archaeologists. You're just another flavor. The pyramid rises slowly. Each new row of stones feels like a legal sentence being handed down. And you're there, day after day, doing the same thing. Climb, push, yell, descend. The rhythm is marked either by drums or by a supervisor blowing a clay whistle that sounds like a traumatized chicken crying. Break time, 15 minutes at noon. Assuming no one has fainted or died first, you sit in a shy patch of shade between 2 blocks that haven't been placed yet. You eat what's left of your morning bread. Now it's harder, drier, with a faint hint of limestone dust. The rest is symbolic. Your muscles hum like broken harp strings. Your hands are raw. Your eyes burn from sun and grit. You look up at the pyramid and quietly wonder, why? No one answers. Everyone is equally wrecked. Back to work. Now maybe you're helping raise wooden scaffolding used to position the higher blocks. These scaffolds are a joke. Thin, wobbly. They creak like they're begging for mercy. And you climb them holding tools, balancing like a slightly intoxicated bird. From up there, you can see the desert. An endless ocean of sand, heat, and absolutely no options. The wind blows hard, but it doesn't cool you. It just throws more dust into your eyes and into whatever remains of your emotional stability. Next to you, a worker slips and nearly falls. Everyone freezes. He grabs a rope, shouts something in ancient Egyptian that definitely isn't polite, and keeps going, because falling is a problem. But stopping the work? That's a sin. The overseer walks by, yelling something about deadlines. Deadlines for eternity. Because the pyramid doesn't have a completion date, but it has to keep growing, no matter the cost. The pharaoh is already having his burial chamber prepared, and he wants something majestic. Majestic for him, of course. For everyone else, just heat stroke and hernias. As the sun begins to sink, you feel it. The end is getting close. Your body barely responds anymore. You drag the last blocks of the day using whatever is left of your soul, which honestly is already hovering slightly outside your body. Watching all of this with quiet disappointment. Late in the afternoon, the signal sounds. Not a siren, just a sharp drumbeat. it's time to stop. You drop your tools, sit on the ground, and try not to throw up what you barely ate. A coworker beside you cries softly. Another thanks the gods for still being in one piece. But the day isn't over. You still have to walk home. And home is about 4 miles away. On foot, in the dark, no lantern, with scorpions. As you walk, you reflect. All of this for a tomb that will last thousands of years. Beautiful, right? Too bad you'll never step inside it. Never be remembered. Never have your name carved in stone. You're just a statistic in the architecture of despair. But hey, another day survived. If you make it back in one piece, there's dinner waiting. Which is the same hard bread from this morning, just with more dust. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, you do it all again. But before you get home, let's make a quick stop at the Egyptian healthcare system. Spoiler alert. It involves leeches and onions. Good luck. You survived your shift, which is already more than could be expected from a large portion of the ancient workforce. But as you might imagine, you didn't walk away untouched. Your shoulder throbs, your leg tingles. There's a lump forming on your neck that's growing so steadily it might deserve its own name. But don't worry, there is treatment. There is healthcare. Well, there is structured suffering. Let's start with diagnosis. In ancient Egypt, you don't go to a general practitioner. You go to a priest-physician. Yes, the same person handling temple rituals is also in charge of your lower back pain. Because nothing says medical confidence like being anointed with oil while someone recites a poem to Ra, hoping it cures your tendinitis. Egyptian medicine was a mix of practical observation, mystical superstition, and a firm belief that everything was the fault of a bored god. If your eye is swollen, a spirit probably slipped into it while you were sleeping. If your stomach hurts, you may have offended a minor corn deity. If just exhausted, well, so is everyone else. But let's say you seek help anyway. You walk to the village healer. He sees you in a dim corner surrounded by statues, jars, and cats, who stare at you like they already know this won't end well. He begins with a careful examination. Checks your pulse, looks at your tongue, hopefully doesn't stick his finger anywhere unexpected. Then comes the treatment. And treatment depends on his mood. Maybe it's a paste made of onion, garlic, crocodile dung, and old wine, applied directly to the wound, wrapped in cloth, with instructions to pray 3 times to the sun so it doesn't forget about you. Or perhaps it's a plaster made of mud, mummy powder. Yes, actual mummy powder. Beetle ash and honey, because honey, you see, was the wild card. Did it work? Hard to say. But it stuck to everything, including your dignity. If the injury is more serious, like a fracture or infection, prepare yourself for the famous hot knife treatment. A bronze blade heated in fire, pressed directly against your skin. Cauterization. No anesthesia, no warning, just a muffled scream, and the unmistakable smell of something that should not be grilled. Oh, you wanted to sleep after that? That's adorable. The pain pulses like a ceremonial drum. You twist on the floor of your home, unable to find a comfortable position, with a bandage made of palm leaves and good intentions. And there's more. Let's say your problem is spiritual, because in ancient Egypt, a lot of things were spiritual. Constant nightmares, persistent cough, headaches, all signs of mild possession. The solution? A ritual. The priest mixes milk, incense, and a little dirt from the local temple, throws it in a bowl, rubs it on your back, chants something ancient, and waits for the entity to leave. If it doesn't, congratulations. You have a spiritual roommate. Now, if you catch something truly serious, plague, high fever, mysterious rashes, you're isolated. Yes, the classic, move that one over there and see what happens method. Preventive medicine, ancient edition. Eliminate the problem. And the problem is you. Vaccines? Only against optimism. Industrial medicine? Of course not. Egyptian pharmacology included things like duck liver extract, evaporated hippopotamus urine, and dust from the nearest temple. I wouldn't ask for the ingredient list. And the dentist? That deserves its own category. Egyptian teeth were wrecked by sand mixed into bread. The result? Infections, cavities, constant pain. The treatment? Extraction. Always extraction. How? Small hammer, lever, done at home, in the dark, with screaming as background music. Some medical papyri describe advanced techniques. Animal gut sutures. Cataract surgeries? Yes, real ones. Even cleaning wounds with wine. But let's be honest. If you were a pyramid worker, none of that reached you. That was for the elite. You'd get a pat on the back and a good luck. Now, what if you're a woman? Ah, friend, congratulations. Ancient Egyptian medicine had an entire arsenal of treatments just for you. From the famous preserved pregnancy test, yes, it was real, to aromatic smoke blown into the uterus, also real. Unfortunately, the result? You're still in pain, and now you smell like myrrh and frustration. Got vision problems? Bad eyesight in ancient Egypt was a sentence. Eye drops were made from copper sulfate and goat tears, applied with a bronze stick. The result? Burning, temporary blindness, trauma. But hey, at least it was natural. After treatment, you go home, or back to work, because there's no sick note. If you can breathe, you work, even if you're limping, feverish, or your head is pounding. After all, the stones aren't going to stack themselves, and the pharaoh sure isn't accepting excuses. I've got a cold, you think, as an excuse. On the way back, you pass a funeral. Yes, another co-worker. Nobody knows exactly how he died, but he's being prepared. The body is washed, embalmed, placed in a wooden coffin, and covered with amulets. You think, at least now, he's resting. But not for long. Because if the gods have their say, he still has to face trials, weigh his heart, fight monsters, cross lakes of fire. Even death takes effort here. You, on the other hand, are still alive, unfortunately. Lower back hurting, a poorly treated wound, and a prescription involving donkey dung to smear on your chest. And tomorrow, more work, fever or no fever. Because in ancient Egypt, being sick wasn't a break. It was training for dying. But before you sleep, let's talk about entertainment. Yes, even sick, exhausted, flea-ridden, the Egyptians knew how to unwind. Well, kind of. All right, time to relax. Or as close to it as a pyramid worker could get. Because in ancient Egypt, fun came with sweat, hierarchy, and a chance of heat stroke. Egyptian-style fun. Among rats, rituals, and questionable outings. You survived work, survived the medicine, and now think, well, at least I get to rest. Cute. Rest in ancient Egypt was like internet in the desert. You hear about it, but never actually see it. You arrive home, or what passes for home. A mud hut with a thatched roof, compacted sand floor, and a constant aroma of sweat, smoke, and a faint hint of goat. Your roommates? A chicken. 3 cousins. A cat that appears out of nowhere. And an indefinite number of freeloading rats. No couch, no cushion, no peace. The neighbor's been arguing with her husband for hours. The baby next door has been screaming since sunrise. And someone decided to learn the bamboo flute. Badly. Very badly. You try to sit, but the floor is hot. Your clothes stick to your body, and your leg has literally fallen asleep. So you lean against the wall and think, What do people even do for fun around here? Short answer, not much. Long answer, nothing that actually involves resting. Let's start with the basics. The tavern. Yes, they existed. Small mud huts where you could drink watered-down beer, hear gossip, and watch someone pass out after 2 sips. The place is cramped, dark, and scented with the sour, sweet aroma of fermented humanity. You walk in, order a bowl of beer, yes, a bowl, and try to socialize, but the topics never change. The heat's unbearable. The foreman is impossible, and someone mentions a 2nd floor for the pyramid, as if that's exciting. Sometimes there's music. Someone bangs on an improvised drum. Someone else plays a gut-stringed harp. No tuning, but genuine enthusiasm, at least until someone spills beer on another's foot. Then a fight breaks out. There's always a fight. Want something calmer? You can play board games. The Egyptians had Senet, a game with pieces, squares, and rules no one really remembers today. Back then, they didn't really understand it either, but pretended. The goal was just to pass the time, while your bread hardened in the corner of the hut. Women, when they weren't cooking, weaving, or praying not to get pregnant again, had their own social moments. They sewed together, cared for children, shared ointment recipes, and sometimes laughed, which is impressive. And the teenagers? They worked from an early age, but during rare breaks, they'd race, practice with sticks, called training weapons, though they were really just sticks, or sit staring into nothing, just like today. Except no Wi-Fi, and there were religious festivals, once in a while, a big event, to honor a deity. People would paint themselves, wear their best, least tattered tunic, carry statues in procession, sing hymns, offer food no one eats, and give thanks for still being alive. It's the closest thing to a sanctioned holiday. During these events, even the pharaoh shows up, from afar, riding in a chariot, surrounded by guards, fanned by servants, and cheered by people pretending to be happy. The scene lasts a few minutes. Then he leaves, and you go back to eating onions. Oh, and don't forget the purification rituals, because every now and then, you need to get rid of bad energies. How? By burning resin smoke in the house, placing protective statues at the doors, and tying talismans around your neck. And when all that fails, you pray harder. Want to date? How bold of you. Marriage was serious business, usually arranged. You meet someone at the market, exchange 3 sentences, and that's it. Union sealed. The dowry? A handful of grain, a goat, or a patch of land nobody wants. Romantic love, only in myths, and even there, it usually ends in tragedy or divine possession. Sex? It happened discreetly, because the gods were always watching, literally. Their images were on the walls, on statues, doors, even jars. Trying anything bolder meant risking a curse of impotence or cosmic hemorrhoids. Better not gamble. For those with more money or less sense, there was professional entertainment. Dancers, musicians, acrobats, and sometimes performers mixing mysticism and spectacle. But it all came at a steep price. And you, pyramid worker, can barely afford your moldy bread. By now, you're exhausted. Your idea of fun was watching 2 ants fight over a crumb. You try to sleep, but your bed is a straw mat over rocks. Your pillow, a curved wooden support. That feels more like a cervical torture device invented by the enemy. You lie down, but sleep doesn't come. The chicken scratches beside you. A mosquito flies into your ear. your neighbor starts snoring with more talent than all the tavern musicians combined. And the heat doesn't drop, ever. You think maybe tomorrow will be better? The answer is no. It doesn't get better. Only the number of stones changes, and maybe the angle of the sun. But for today, you survived, had your social moment. And now, if you're lucky, you'll dream of something better, like sleeping in air conditioning, with clean sheets and silence. But hold on, it's not over. Now let's talk about the real reason behind all this. Why were these pyramids even being built? Who came up with the idea? And why didn't anyone say no? Spoiler, it's all vanity. But let me explain. Pyramids, the pharaoh's ego carved into stone. You spend another day carrying blocks that could easily crush your house. And between one push and another, the inevitable question arises, why all this? I mean, couldn't they have built a simpler mausoleum? A discreet tombstone? A clay tomb with a single little flower, maybe? No, because you're in ancient Egypt. Here, when a pharaoh decides to die, or rather not die, he decides to become stone. Literally. The pyramids, these colossal structures, are the direct result of a very specific thought. I am a god. I want a tomb to match. And because nobody said no to the pharaoh, spoiler, anyone who did became a mummy ornament. The project marched on. In the pharaoh's mind, the pyramid was a portal to eternity, a spiritual elevator, so to speak. Only instead of a button, there were stairs. And instead of a ground floor, there was eternal life next to Ra. Luxury. But of course, it came with demands. First, it had to be big. Really big. Bigger than anything ever built before. Because a pharaoh, being a pharaoh, wants to outdo his predecessors. Oh, your grandfather built 180 meters tall? Well, mine will be 140, with a decorated ramp and everything. Second, it had to last. Nothing says immortality like 2.3 million blocks of limestone, stacked with mathematical precision. All that effort just to hold a body that will start to rot in less than 2 weeks if the mummification goes wrong. But symbolism, that's what mattered. Third, it had to be secret. Tomb robbers were almost as fast as the architects. So, besides being gigantic, the pyramid had to have traps, false corridors, hidden doors, and systems that would make a maze look like a playground. And guess who built all that? Yeah, you. The official excuse was beautiful. We're building the divine dwelling. But in practice, it was just a project of extreme vanity. The pharaoh wanted to make sure his soul had every possible comfort in the afterlife. Food, drink, gold, statues, miniature servants, even board games. Because even dead, he didn't want to get bored. And it all had to be there, organized, symbolically positioned, in carefully carved chambers with hieroglyphs saying things like, "Here rests the divine, eternal glory, do not touch." How did the command structure work? Easy. The pharaoh said, "I want my pyramid." The chief architect drew something megalomaniac on papyrus. The scribe wrote down deadlines as if they were possible. And you, along with 10,000 other tired souls, got the mission of raising the Titanic with your bare hands. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, for example, took over 20 years to complete. That means a lot of people worked on it and died before seeing the first row of stones finished. It's like building a skyscraper, brick by brick, and then being buried behind it without ever seeing the elevator. And of course, nobody got credit. No plaque saying, "Built by Ahmed, Giza laborer, with love and sweat." Nope. only the pharaoh's name in giant letters. Everything else turned to dust. But you don't complain, because since you were a kid, you were taught the pharaoh is a living incarnation of Horus. Obeying is a sacred duty, and participating in construction is an honor, even if that honor comes with chronic pain, sunstroke, and early death. Some say the workers were well fed, that they got bread, beer, and occasional protein. Maybe. But well fed in ancient Egypt is relative. It doesn't change the fact that you spent 10 hours a day pushing a living wall under a sun that fried even your thoughts. And when the pyramid was finished, the pharaoh was buried with pomp. Everything sealed. Priests performed rituals. The people applauded. 3 weeks later, someone was already thinking, will the next one be bigger? Yes, always. The cycle repeated. A new pharaoh, a new project, a new army of workers. And you, now older, with fewer teeth and more blisters, marched on, because in ancient Egypt, there was no time to stop, only stones to stack. Sometimes you wondered, will anyone ever remember me? The silent answer, as unchanging as the Sphinx, was always the same. No. But the pyramids? Those would remain, because they weren't just tombs. They were monuments to obsession, to eternity, to the unbridled ego of men who thought they were gods. And in the end, just wanted to make sure their bones were well protected, preferably under tons of stone. You, on the other hand, continue without a tombstone. But who needs one when you have a back scar and a boring story to tell? Speaking of stories, it's time to dive into Egyptian spirituality, the idea of the soul, post-death judgment, and all those cosmic steps that required more preparation than a college entrance exam. Yes, in ancient Egypt, even dying was bureaucratic. Life after death. Spiritual bureaucracy on a pharaonic scale. After decades of carrying stone, facing scorpions, bites, sunstroke, and sandy bread, you die. Your heart stops. Your soul departs. And now, you might think, finally, you'll rest. Right? Wrong. In ancient Egypt, death wasn't the end. It was just the start of the longest, most complex spiritual selection process in human history. Freshly deceased, you had to go through a series of spiritual interviews, practical tests, and character evaluations that would make any college exam look like a round of Uno. First, your soul had to find its way to the Hall of Two Truths. The Egyptian spiritual GPS was made of decorated spells, specific amulets, and a life well lived. Meaning, if you weren't exemplary, good luck finding your way out of your own body. But don't worry, you had some help. Your body was mummified, if you were lucky or rich. Otherwise, your corpse became a jackal buffet, and your soul wandered a dusty limbo without a script or guide. But let's pretend you were mummified. Your body was washed with wine and natron, a mix of salt and baking soda that dries out everything, even dreams. Your organs were removed and stored in jars. Heart stays, brain thrown away. Because Egyptians believed thinking wasn't the brain's job. It was the heart's. An idea that, looking at some modern meetings, kinda makes sense. After that, you were wrapped in linens, adorned with amulets, lined with eyeliner, and buried with a spiritual kit. Food, servant statues, lucky scarabs, and of course, the Book of the Dead, a user manual for the afterlife. This book wasn't really a book. It was magical formulas written on papyrus or the tomb walls, detailed instructions for every phase of the journey. Like, when you meet the crocodile-headed guardian, say, "I am pure, I didn't eat beans on odd days." Yes, that level of detail existed. you begin your journey through the Duat, the underworld, a place filled with fiery rivers, bizarre creatures, and gates guarded by moody gods. It's like a spiritual video game. And every stage has a boss, literally. You face flaming snakes, demonic hippos, and entities that ask tricky questions like, "Have you ever stolen bread?" Or, "Did you wash your hands before eating?" Depending on your answer, you either move forward or become monster snack. But nothing compares to the final stage, the Hall of Judgment. There, you meet Anubis, the jackal-headed god, specialist in weighing hearts. Literally, he takes your heart and places it on a scale. On the other side, a feather of the goddess Maat, symbol of truth and justice. If your heart is lighter than the feather, congrats, you're worthy. You get to live with the gods in the eternal reed fields, where everything is beautiful, fresh, and you never lift a stone again. If it's heavier, problem. The monster Ammit, a mix of lion, hippo, and crocodile, devours your soul on the spot. Game over. No appeals, no second chances. No, but I had a tough childhood. Doesn't matter. Cosmic Judgment has no lawyer. To help, you can bury a scarab with you that carries rehearsed phrases. Something like, "Heart, don't snitch on me." Yeah, you need to convince your own heart to lie for you. A little detail that clearly shows the level of trust the Egyptians had in human nature. Oh, and there's more. Besides all that, you have to remember the name of every god that shows up. And there are a lot. Ra, Osiris, Isis, Set, Horus, Thoth, Bastet, Sekhmet, Sobek, Hathor. It's a divine convention. And if you get a name wrong or mix up a function, you can be blocked at the gates of paradise. Remember your Wi-Fi password? Now imagine remembering 42 magical formulas in ancient Egyptian while floating in limbo with the pressure of a hungry soul trying to pull you the wrong way. But okay, let's say you made it. You arrive at the fields of Ayaru, a green place with calm rivers, eternal crops, shade, fruit, and peace. Sounds good, right? And it is. But you still have work. Planting, harvesting, building. Yes, even in the Egyptian paradise, there's a workday. The difference? Everything's light there. No pain. No overseer screaming. No sandy bread. Just you, your soul, and an eternity of manageable tasks. It's like hell turned into a paid internship, an upgrade. And of course, if you were rich, the journey was easier. More amulets, more rituals, more chances to bribe gods with offerings. If you were poor, well, that's why you carried stone your whole life, trying to make sure that even with little coin, you wouldn't get eaten in judgment. Now you see why building pyramids made sense? It was fear. Fear of being forgotten, of being condemned, of having no place in eternity. And the Pharaoh? He secured all that with stone, gold, and priests 24/7. You, on the other hand, only had your faith. A scarab with rehearsed lines, and a heart that maybe told a tiny lie. But hey, at least if everything goes right, you get to rest. Now let's get back to Earth. Literally. Let's talk Egyptian agriculture. Because when you weren't carrying stone, you were planting lettuce in the desert. Yes, and no, it wasn't easier. Life in the fields? Your back hurts, the mud stinks, but the Nile decides. You're not carrying stone today? Congrats. That's because your name was drawn. Not for rest, of course, but for a sector change. Now, instead of destroying your spine pushing limestone, you'll destroy your spine weeding a flooded field with a wooden stick and a stubborn cow. Welcome to ancient Egyptian farming, where the soil is fertile, but rest is still a myth. You wake up even earlier than when you were at the construction site. Farming depends on the sun, the Nile's flood, and the mood of a bull named Sobek, who clearly does not like you. He's been staring at you since you arrived, like he knows today he's dragging you through at least 3 furrows. Work starts before the sun even rises. The mist covers the fields, the ground is wet, and your feet sink into thick mud mixed with clay, plant remnants, and things you'd rather not identify. But you step anyway. Because here, productivity means surviving until the next flood. Your tool is a crude hoe made of crooked wood and a worn copper blade. It barely cuts the soil, but gives you blisters with surgical precision. You spend hours bent over, opening furrows that will soon be flooded, hoping the seeds you scatter carelessly will sprout someday, or at least attract fewer locusts than last year. There's no fertilizer, at least not the kind in a fancy bag with a Latin name. What there is manure, a lot of it. You carry buckets of fresh dung, mix it into the soil, and think, well, at least I'm not pushing stone today. But deep down, you miss the predictability of limestone. Planting days are long, but nothing compares to harvest. During harvest, time is measured in screams, cuts on your hands, and the constant panic that the grain will rot before it's stored. You reap with a stone sickle, bending your body at angles that defy human biomechanics, carrying bundles to a warehouse where someone more important decides whether they're good or if you harvested wrong. And if it rains at the wrong time, the harvest rots. If the sun burns too hot, the soil cracks. If the Nile doesn't flood as expected, everything dies. And you die with it. Maybe not physically, but inside. The Nile. Everything revolves around it. If it floods, everyone works. If it dries, everyone prays. If it brings fish, there's a feast. If it brings a floating corpse, silence. But always, in any scenario, it demands respect, or at least resignation. When you're not in the fields, you're taking care of animals, or trying to. Goats have the personality of rebellious teenagers. Cows ignore you completely. Ducks attack in groups if you get too close to their pond, claiming it as theirs. Your diet improves a bit during harvest. More grains, maybe some vegetables. Rarely, lean meat from an animal that died naturally or was accused of witchcraft. But mostly, nutrition stays the same. Hard bread, onions, warm beer. Beer, by the way, is a gift from the gods. Not because it's good, but because it dulls your senses. You drink not to celebrate, but to forget that you'll do it all again tomorrow. Between tasks, you hear rumors. The vizier is raising taxes. A plague is spreading in the southern fields. A statue cried blood. And of course, the new pyramid is leaning. Nothing new, nothing surprising. And as you dig, plant, irrigate, transport, and pray for a decent harvest, you know one thing. What you harvest isn't yours. Not really. Most goes straight to the temple, another part to the palace. A fraction stays with a local administrator. And what's left? If you're lucky, 1 basket to share with your family of 7, 2 chickens, and a nameless cat. But that's okay. You weren't expecting anything different. Your father did the same. Your grandfather too. Maybe even your great-grandfather. All of them died with calloused hands and scraped knees. But at least they ate. Sometimes. Today, you eat a small, dense chickpea cake with honey. a rare treat reserved for special occasions, like today, the festival of the Nile flood. The village celebrates. Children run around. Someone dances with a jar on their head. And you watch from a distance, eyes tired from having seen it 20 times, knowing that tomorrow, everything goes back to normal. The cycle never changes. Planting, waiting, harvesting, hunger, sun, rain, plague, plague again. And sometimes a hope with no reason. The cycle never changes. Planting, waiting, harvesting, hunger, sun, rain, plague, plague again. And sometimes a hope with no reason. Nobody questions much, because in ancient Egypt, questioning gets you nowhere. But obeying, working, and praying, that keeps you alive, more or less. The only thing that changes from time to time is the pharaoh. But the stones stay, the bread stays, the sand always stays, and so do you. Economy and taxes, paying even for the sun. You might think that planting, harvesting, carrying, and almost dying would be enough to guarantee your basic existence. But no. In ancient Egypt, besides working with your body, you also work with what you don't have. Money, or rather, the Egyptian equivalent. Because here, anything can be taxed, even silence. There's no currency like today. Forget coins, bills, or that virtual money that disappears when you check your balance. The Egyptian economy is barter-based. You trade onions for cloth, flour for dried fish, beer for favors, all while trying not to get cheated by someone swearing their goat is purebred. But even without formal money, taxes exist. And they're very, very real. They come in the form of grain, oil, livestock, labor, and even sweat. Literally, your tax might be delivering a basket of wheat each month, or spending 2 months a year working on the public project of the moment, which, surprise, is usually a pyramid. Who collects it? The scribe, of course, that creature with a reed brush tucked behind the ear, a look of passive-aggressive disdain, and a talent for inventing new levies. He comes, inspects your possessions, usually a tired goat and a pile of shriveled onions, and records it on a papyrus with the calm of someone who knows you won't complain. You try to argue. This year's harvest was poor. He smiles and writes another line. Oh, so you still have time to speak? Congratulations. You've just earned an extra fine for unsolicited insolence. Then there are the collectors, the ones who don't write, they just hit. When collection time comes, they show up in groups, sticks in hand, and bad attitudes. If you haven't delivered your share, they take what you have. 1 chicken, a jar of oil, even your sleeping mat. And no, they don't listen to explanations. They just grab it and leave. Like they're taking out the trash, which for them, it practically is. And of course, you pay for things you don't even know you're using. Water from the Nile? Taxed. Rented land? Taxed. Public shade? Not yet. But don't doubt it. They're working on it. If you're a craftsman, it gets worse. You make pots all day. The wheel spins. Clay flies. And your shoulder aches more than your faith. Then the inspector comes, checks your work, picks the best pots, and says, "These are for the temple." No payment, no receipt, no goodbye. And don't even think about hiding anything. The Egyptians invented social auditing long before modern accountants. Your neighbor rats you out. Your brother-in-law sells you for a bottle of beer. And even your house walls seem to hear your thoughts and whisper them to the nearest scribe. Now you think, where does it all go? Good question. Part goes to the temple to feed the gods who conveniently eat through the priests. Part goes to the palace because the pharaoh needs 80 types of bread and 12 new statues every week. Another part, nobody knows. Maybe it's stored, maybe lost, maybe used to pay another scribe. You, of course, see no return. The roads remain terrible. The well is always clogged, and the only thing improving is the collector's clothes. The new temple? Luxurious. Your house? A socially accepted cave. And if you don't pay, the punishment varies. Public beating with bonus humiliation, extra forced labor, or prison, which basically means being shoved in a hole without ventilation, with 3 pests, 2 rats, and a man talking to himself. And if you die, Owen, guess what? The debt passes to your children. Egyptian inheritance, half trauma, half back taxes. You start to realize that, in the end, living here is just this. Work, pay, try to sleep, repeat. No breaks. Just an eternal cycle of obligations that devour your strength like stale bread. But it's okay. According to the priests, every offering you give helps maintain cosmic order. Yes, your onion pays for the balance of the universe. And if that's not comforting, well, at least you can pretend it is. So you return home, empty-handed, body aching, carrying an imaginary receipt of everything you lost. On the temple wall, clearly visible, a hieroglyph reads, "Let the people work and be grateful." You watch, sigh, and pray the collector forgets your street tomorrow. Egyptian justice. Guilty. Until the mummy proves otherwise. You're not exactly a criminal. Never killed anyone. Never robbed temples. Just hid 2 onions from the tax and shoved a neighbor in the bread line. Small things. But in ancient Egypt, that's enough to be considered suspicious. And being suspicious here basically means 1 foot in judgment, 1 foot in an improvised jail behind the temple. The Egyptian justice system is simple. If you're poor, you're wrong. If you're rich, you're busy praying to be absolved. And if you're a scribe, congratulations. You are the system. When someone commits a crime, the process starts with a complaint. It could come from a nosy neighbor, a vengeful tax collector, or even a temple cat that, according to the priest, sensed bad vibes. The accusation is taken to the village chief or a state official, with that face that was clearly born to never smile. You are called, or rather, dragged. Someone grabs your arm, while another scribbles something on a papyrus with an air of importance. Nobody explains what's going on. You hear words like infraction and hidden wheat, and already know this isn't going to end with a simple go with God. The trial has no lawyer, no jury. There's a stone table, 2 officers with clubs, and a grumpy scribe asking, "Confess, or do you want help?" Confessing is the fastest route. You admit, even if you didn't do it, expecting a light punishment, like a few lashes. If you deny it, that's when interrogation comes, which is just a fancy word for torture, with sticks, sand, and the strategic use of a wooden spoon. If you insist on denying, the case can escalate. It goes to someone higher up, like a priest judge, and now you enter the realm of divine judgment. They bring an idol, burn incense, toss bird bones on the floor, and interpret the signs. If the feather lands facing left, you're guilty. If it lands right, well, still guilty, just with less anger. The feather's meaning depends on the authority's mood and how insolent your posture seems. Punishments range from public beatings to losing a possession, usually your only chicken, or, in extreme cases, exile. Yes, exile. You're sent away from your village, your field, your mud, your miserable daily life. Whether it's a punishment or a gift, still up for debate. Now let's say the crime is serious, like temple robbery or forging offerings. Then comes the ceremony, a series of rituals where you're presented to the community as a disruptor of Ma'at, the Egyptian concept of cosmic order. In other words, you screwed up the entire universe just because you tried to hide a jar of beer. And when you're accused of this, exemplary punishment follows. Beatings with a palm stick, branding, amputation, or, in the worst case, death. Simple, direct, no drama. After all, one less body is one more potential spirit serving in the afterlife. And if you're a victim of a crime, tough luck. Sit, wait your turn, and hope the scribe hasn't gone off to hunt scarabs. Justice for the victim here is optional, especially if the offender owns more livestock than you. But it's not just physical punishment. There's spiritual punishment too. You can be cursed, officially. A priest performs a ceremony, writes your name on a papyrus, burns it, and throws the ashes into a jar with cat poop. That means your soul will suffer in the afterlife. And honestly, that lasts way longer than a beating. There's, of course, a chance to redeem yourself. You can make an offering to the temple, apologize publicly, donate part of your harvest, and kneel before the statue of Osiris with a never again face. If all goes well, you return to society with the status of a functionally repentant citizen. Now, if you're a scribe or priest and make a mistake, don't worry. They handle it among themselves. A herbal bath, a prayer, a symbolic donation, and boom, you're forgiven. Ma'at is rebalanced with half a jar of honey. In the end, that's the system. Asymmetrical, superstitious, and decorated with hieroglyphs that say a lot but mean very little. Most people try to avoid trouble, walk the line, pretend they didn't see, didn't think, because even thinking out loud here can look like defiance. You go home tired, poor, without onions, but at least still free. For now. Because in ancient Egypt, justice sleeps with one eye open, and sometimes that eye is the one painted on your wall. Architecture and construction. Torture manual with a Nile view. You've seen a pyramid from afar. Beautiful, imposing, hypnotically geometric. But now, you've been promoted, or cursed, with a new task, helping build a temple. Yes, because ancient Egypt didn't live on pyramids alone. There were temples, obelisks, murals, sphinxes, portals, all big, all heavy, all impossible. The day starts with a visit to the construction site, which is just another extension of dusty human despair. You're greeted by 2 foremen and an architect carrying a papyrus and an expression of spiritual superiority. He points to an incomprehensible drawing and says, "This is the plan." You see only scribbles and a scarab in the corner of the paper. The first task, unload sandstone blocks. And they don't come alone. They come among us, pulled by oxen, tied with ropes that have seen better days, and pushed by people who already gave up. You help guide a block to the right spot, but the right spot changes every 5 minutes because the architect decided maybe it would look better 3 palms to the left. No modern scaffolding here. What exists are mud ramps built by other workers who also don't want to be there. You climb, carrying rudimentary tools, thinking that falling means becoming a permanent part of the decoration. The sound of the worksite is organized chaos, hammering, shouted commands, stone scraping against stone, and the occasional chorus of existential groans. No one sings. No one whistles. The loudest you hear are coughs, low complaints, and murmured prayers for Ra to turn off the sun for just a moment. Every wall of the temple is decorated with reliefs. And who does that? People like you. Or worse, sculpting isn't art, it's punishment. You spend hours scraping stone with a bronze chisel, trying to turn a smooth surface into a pharaoh with a "I am eternal" face. But the chisel breaks. Your arm tires, your leg tingles, and you think, who's going to look at this in 3,000 years? Spoiler, someone will, but not you. After the sculpture comes the painting, and the paint is made from things that probably shouldn't be paint. Clay mixed with fat, crushed charcoal, minerals, and a pinch of desperation. The colors are vibrant, but the smell, questionable. The brush, a piece of plant fiber tied with string. The result? The pharaoh looks like he's having an existential crisis. The supervisor finds it charming. Accidents happen during the work. Falls, crushes, deep cuts. When someone gets hurt, they're dragged to a corner where a healer slaps on some mud and says, "It'll get better." It doesn't. But they go back anyway, because the work doesn't stop. Not even for death. If a block falls and breaks, you hear, "Use it anyway." If materials run out, improvise. If someone dies buried under stone, silence. They become part of the foundation, literally. And all this, why? Because the temple must be perfect, symmetrical, divine, even if no one sees the back. Because the gods see everything, especially the stuff you think no one will notice. The architect comes back, says the obelisk isn't aligned. The hieroglyphs need redoing. Maybe the main portal needs resizing. You look at this clean, well-fed man with a brush behind his ear and think, if I push him now, would anyone notice? But you don't. You breathe and go back to carrying stone. Construction lasts years, decades. You age there, watch the temple grow like an unwanted plant, slow, steady, sucking everything around it. And when it's finally done, comes the consecration ceremony. Priests, incense, dancers, chants. And you, watching from the corner, calloused hands, a new scar whose origin nobody remembers. The temple is now sacred, untouchable, visited only by the chosen. You, who spent half your life building it, cannot enter. You stay outside, watching others kneel before what you raised with your own spine. And then another order comes. Start the next one. You don't answer. You just grab your hoe and walk. Temples and religion, between offerings and spiritual blackmail. The temple is finished, immense, intimidating, perfectly symmetrical, decorated with scenes of gods smiling falsely while crushing enemies who all look like you. And now that it exists, you realize building it isn't enough. You also have to maintain it, with donations, work, fear. Religion in ancient Egypt isn't about belief. It's a social contract. The gods exist, yes, but they're not benevolent. They demand, and they demand a lot. You also have to maintain it, with donations, work, fear. Religion in ancient Egypt isn't about belief. It's a social contract. The gods exist, yes, but they're not benevolent. They demand, and they demand a lot. Your whole day revolves around pleasing cosmic beings with an appetite for bread, wine, incense, and roasted meat, which, ironically, you never actually see anyone eat, except for the priests. The priests are majestic figures, always clean, perfumed, in starched robes, with that look of someone who thinks they embody divine justice. They float through the temple, while you, outside, try to shoo a cloud of flies away with a stick. Inside the temple, the day starts with waking the god. Yes, really. The divine statue, usually gold or precious wood, is awakened with chants, washed with perfumed water, dressed in fine fabrics, and fed with the best local produce. Also, it stays in a good mood. You think it's weird, but you say nothing, because questioning the ritual automatically marks you as spiritually impure, which means fasting, penance, and maybe a light curse, just to be safe. The temple also acts like a bank. It stores grain, gold, and valuable objects. People come to deposit things, both literally and spiritually. You hand over a jar of honey, hoping your crop won't rot in return. If it does, too bad. The god did what he could. The temple hierarchy is complex. Chief priest, ritual assistant, incense bearer, sacred floor scrubber, even divine pigeon shoer. Each has their role and privileges. All of them live better than any worker who laid stone in those walls. Sometimes you're called to help in a ritual. That means cleaning the courtyard, carrying jars, playing a clay drum, and if you're lucky, joining a procession where you march in circles for hours under the sun, all to renew the order of the world. Do you believe in it? No. But you participate, because denying it is disorder, and disorder is punishment. On festival days, religion becomes a spectacle. Statues are carried on boats, accompanied by music, offerings, crowds in trance, and priests dancing with uncomfortable seriousness. People scream, cry, fall to their knees. You watch and wonder if it's faith or desperation. But you keep your head down. Religion also dictates your health, your marriage, your harvest, your afterlife. Every problem has a specific god. Toothache. Talk to Serket. Scared of scorpions? Bastet handles it. Need fertility? Isis helps, but only if you haven't skipped paying the incense tax. At home, you have a small clay altar with symbolic offerings, a clay coin, a dried fish, a wilted flower. You pray quietly every night, not out of devotion, but because you have no choice. Here, even silence must be directed at someone. Temples also educate, or rather, train, scribes and priests. If your child shows talent with letters, they might be sent there to study, but only if you have influence or a valuable gift, or both. Access, even to faith, is limited. And if you're a girl, sure, there are religious roles. Singers of Ammon, sacred dancers, incense keepers, but rarely with real power. Religion might have powerful goddesses, but in everyday life, they serve to justify control, not wield it. The temple's rules apply to everyone, except the temples themselves. They're tax exempt. You pay for everything, even breathing. But the temple? Nothing. It's the Egyptian version of a tax haven, with more bronze scarabs and less transparency. Over time, you start realizing maybe the gods aren't that interested in the offerings. The statues don't respond. The priests live very well on gifts from the faithful. But thinking that is dangerous. So you swallow the thought and offer another onion. Maybe it saves you from the next plague. Children in ancient Egypt, little adults with lice. You see a child running through the village, barefoot, sweaty, screaming like life is a game. The impression lasts 3 seconds because she soon trips, gets up, and goes to fetch water in a jar bigger than her. Childhood here is just a short pause between being born and carrying stuff. Children don't really grow up. They just quietly accumulate responsibilities. From a young age, they already know. No public school, no colorful lunchbox, no free time. The most common toy is a carved piece of wood that looks like an animal, but can also be used to hit a sibling. By age 3, they help with chores. By 5, they're in the fields or on construction. By 7, they have the same routine as an adult. Wake up early, carry things, obey without complaint. The idea of a protected childhood wouldn't appear for another 4,000 years. Here, you're born, chew hard bread, and that's it. Welcome to life. Girls learn from their mothers to cook, sew, grind grain, and accept fate with forced calm. Boys learn from their fathers to plant, lift heavy loads, and keep their mouths shut. The few who escape this, children of the elite, study with scribes, learn math, hieroglyphics, and how to boss others around with a soft voice and divine authority. But that's not your reality. In your village, kids have 3 options for the future: die young, work early, or both. Child health? A joke. Most suffer from worms, diarrhea, recurring infections, and dehydration. Lice were so common that shaving the head became the norm. Not for style, but out of necessity. The Egyptian fine-toothed comb was literally a tool for social survival. Kids wore a simple cloth around the waist. When it got hot, which was always, most of them went naked. No shoes, no sunscreen, no dignity, but plenty of energy, which is impressive. Toys? The favorite was a clay hoop rolled with a stick. Simple, surprisingly effective for 5 minutes of distraction. There were also clay dolls, makeshift slingshots, and races to see who reached the shade first. Whoever lost felt the punishment of the sun, literally. And punishments? They were educational in a post-traumatic kind of way. Got scolded? Better than getting hit with a stick on your leg. Cried too much? Go fetch water from the well to learn what a real problem is. No concept of tantrums. A child who yells gets beaten. A child who cries gets ignored. A child who stands out too much becomes suspect. The best a child can be here is invisible and efficient. A mini adult with onion breath and a resigned gaze. Still, they play. Hide and seek, mock fights, building sand pyramids in all the wrong shapes. They laugh at nonsense, imitate animals, chase birds, and somehow, by some miracle, survive. Childhood resilience is one of the few beauties of this place. A flower sprouting from the muck. Relationships with parents are practical. Love exists, of course, but not the kind that leaves notes. It's proven through work, shared food, silent protection from the tax collector. Parents teach you to live, not to dream. Because dreaming here is dangerous. It invites frustration. When a child dies, which isn't rare, the family mourns however they can. Sometimes with tears, sometimes in silence. Early death is expected, statistically built into the routine. Grief doesn't stop work. You bury, pray, and return to the fields. With luck, you make an offering so the child's soul has less paperwork in the afterlife. Religion watches over the children too. Special amulets, protective gods like Bess and Taweret, figures that look like they'd prefer no one ever got pregnant again. Mothers hang talismans around the kids' necks, say specific prayers, and make sure they don't sleep alone. According to the stories, it's at night that evil spirits patrol. No birthdays, no celebration for being born, no candles, no presents. The greatest gift a child can get here is surviving to age 12. If they make it, maybe they get a whole loaf of bread just for themselves. You watch your child come back from the fields, sweaty, covered in dust, holding an onion, face saying, "I survived another day." You smile. They don't smile back, but hand over the onion proudly. A small gesture, a huge symbol. Childhood here isn't sweet. It's salty, rough, sometimes bitter. But it exists in a distorted, resilient, primitive way. Every child who survives grows into an adult who knows exactly what to expect from life. Not much, but at least prepared. Food, partially safe. The luxury of eating without pain. You're hungry. Again. Because in ancient Egypt, hunger is more loyal than many marriages. And while we've already mentioned bread, onions, and beer, now it's time to detail the real menu of the time. Or as you'll soon think of it, the sequence of disappointment. The staple is still bread, but not fluffy bakery bread with a fancy French name. Here, bread is dense, compact, full of sand, strong enough to be used as a building brick. Why the sand? Because grain was ground on rudimentary stone mills that released quartz particles. The result? Crunchy bread and guaranteed dental erosion. You've already lost some teeth. Nobody keeps all of them. Most people your age, somewhere between 28 and my knee, hurts every morning. Chew with their gums and spirit. Eating here is often an act of faith or pure necessity. Besides bread, there's onion. Always onions. Sliced, mashed, steeped, even raw. A delight for anyone who enjoys the flavor of tearful heat mixed with sweat. Then there's garlic. More medicine and seasoning. But somehow, it ends up being both. If you're very lucky, maybe a cooked lentil with dried herbs. And when I say herbs, I mean stuff that won't kill you. Fruits? Sure, a few. Figs, dates, desert melon. All hand-picked, with a chance of a snake bite included. When ripe, a gift from the gods. When passed, they turn into wine. Yes, wine. Because fermented alcohol under the sun in a clay pot is a tradition that survives to this day, just without ice, without glamour, and with a subtle taste of despair. The main drink is beer. But let's adjust expectations again. It's a thick barley mash, fermented, flat, served warm, full of sediment. Almost an alcoholic soup. You drink from a jar with a straw made of straw, trying to ignore the floating chunks that could be wheat, or something alive. Meat? Rare. Very rare. Unless an animal dies by accident or divine punishment. Cows are too valuable. Chickens are still exotic animals. What's left? Duck, if you're lucky. Field rats, if you're brave. And fish from the Nile? Oh, the fish. Fresh, fried, dried, salted. The problem is, sometimes the fish comes with a little bonus. Parasites. Nothing a purification ritual or a good intestinal crisis can't handle. The rich, of course, eat better. Beef, roasted goose, fine bread, honey cakes, imported wine, fresh fruits all year round. But you only see that at official banquets, where your role is to serve, smile, and try not to drool on a high priest's plate. Vegetables are part of the diet. Lettuce, cucumber, turnip. But all harvested under scorching sun, manually irrigated, and constantly at risk of plague. Quality varies, of course. One day, you bite into something that seems fresh. The next, you chew and realize the crunch was an insect. You cook over open fire, carrying the wood yourself. No temperature-controlled oven exists. Clay pot improvisation is the kitchen. Seasoning? Salt, if you have it. Any leaf that promises not to kill you. Now imagine eating all of this with your hands, because cutlery doesn't exist. And your plate is often just a leaf or a cracked bowl. You sit on the ground, share with your family, and give thanks. Not because it's tasty, but because it's there. Food hygiene is improvised. Flies are part of the meal. The water used to wash food has seen things you'd rather forget. Fermentation varies between delicious and death brew. Still, there are moments of celebration. When the harvest is good, when someone marries, when the pharaoh declares a sacred holiday, which, in practice, is just an excuse to skip a shift. On those days, you eat better. A whole loaf of bread, a slice of meat, a honey cake, and maybe, just maybe, a meal without sand. But mostly, eating is surviving. Not pleasure, not a hobby, obligation. You don't savor flavors. You swallow what won't kill you and give thanks for not having to share it with a scorpion. And when your stomach growls, you drink thick beer until it shuts up, not for fullness, but for numbing. Because in ancient Egypt, even hunger had to wait in line at the temple. Medicine, the art of dying with style. You wake with a backache. Maybe it's the kidney. Maybe your soul. Hard to tell. Your whole body feels like it survived an earthquake. You decide it's time for medical help. In ancient Egypt, that means choosing between treatment with wine, a spell, or a spoonful of honey with dried lizard. Doctors exist. They even have fancy titles, like Priest of the House of Life, or Guardian of the Secrets of the Flesh. But don't be fooled. Half of the treatment is magic. The other half is trial and error. You arrive at the healer. Describe the symptom. I feel a burning here. And he replies, this is the wrath of Sekhmet. You've offended a cat. The consultation begins with inspecting your fluids. Saliva, sweat, urine, blood, all analyzed with uncomfortable seriousness. If your urine looks like mud, maybe your liver is overheated. Or maybe you're just slowly dying, like everyone else. Treatment depends on interpretation. It could include a poultice made from moldy bread. Accidentally an antibiotic, if you're lucky. A compress made from crocodile dung mixed with milk, strongly not recommended. Or a spiritual bath in Nile water, with magic words written on a scrap of papyrus tucked between your toes. Fever? Too much hot blood. Treatment? Bloodletting. They literally make you bleed. They cut your arm and wait for the bad energy to drain out with it. If you don't pass out, that means it's working. Headache? A lump of clay mixed with incense pressed onto your forehead. Or a sharp slap to wake the spirit. Or both. Broken bone? The doctor sets it with sticks, linen, and faith. No anesthesia, just screaming and courage. Then they tie it all together with rope and tell you to rest. The concept of a proper cast is still a few eras away. Digestive problems? Ancient Egypt is basically a parasite buffet. Treatment might involve castor oil, chewing tree bark, or swallowing a dried frog on an empty stomach. Yes, a frog. No, you don't get a choice. Do you want to heal, or do you want to argue? Infections are common. Wounds swell. Oils irritate. Ears bleed. Doctors have pastes, oils, and ointments, many of them honey-based, a natural antiseptic. Garlic, onions, and other ingredients that at the very least ensure you smell so strong no one dares get near the wound. Serious illnesses are often seen as possession. If someone is delirious, clearly there's a demon in their liver. Treatment involves prayers, herbal smoke, and amulets meant to drive evil out through the breath. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you just die more pleasantly scented. Pregnant women rely on midwives. They have experience. They know when the baby is positioned wrong, when to push, when to give up. The problem? No anesthesia. No real understanding of infection. Not much to be done if something goes wrong. And when it does, and it often does, death in childbirth becomes just another number. Quiet. Accepted. Tragic without ceremony. To find out if a woman is pregnant, there's a test. She urinates on 2 piles of barley and wheat. If the grain sprout is positive. If not, maybe it's just a cold. And yes, with some margin of error, it actually works. Science and superstition walk hand in hand here, stumbling together. Medicine is also about documentation. Entire papyri exist listing treatments, spells, exotic ingredients, and precautions. One recommends, for toothache, applying boiled onion to the ear. It doesn't fix the tooth, but it definitely gives you something new to focus on. And don't forget astrology. Certain treatments can only be done on certain days. The position of the stars determines whether the ointment will heal you or turn you into a living statue of frustration. If you have access to a temple, you might consult a priest-physician. He has more knowledge, more instruments made of bronze or polished stone, and more cryptic phrases. He also costs more, much more. So you go back to the village healer, who at least accepts onions as payment. In the end, sometimes the treatment works, because your body does part of the job. You rest. You drink water, dirty water. You sweat. And you survive. Or you don't. And when you don't, the cause of death is rarely recorded. They simply say, it was the will of the gods. You realize that here, getting sick is just another stage of life. No one expects a cure. They expect relief. They expect to make it through the day. And if everything goes well, to sleep without pain. Over time, you adjust. Not to being well, but to functioning with what you have. Because in ancient Egypt, medicine doesn't save you. It distracts you until death has an opening in its schedule. Death and burial. The great post-life event. You wake with a strange ache, not in your body that's already used to suffering. It's in your soul, or, if you prefer, in what the Egyptians call the Ka, the Ba, or one of the 7 parts of your spiritual being that is probably crying for help. Because in ancient Egypt, dying isn't the end. It's just the beginning of the largest religious bureaucracy humanity ever designed. A mix of ritual, theater, mystical accounting, and expenses that make taxes seem friendly. When someone dies, the first reaction is practical. Get the body out of the heat. The Egyptian sun turns any corpse into a biological experiment within hours. Family members or neighbors, if no one volunteers, cover the body with linen and place it in a fetal position. It may or may not be symbolic, but it definitely saves space. Then comes the wake. A discreet ceremony with rehearsed crying, chest beating, and that performative wailing that serves both to honor the dead and to convince the gods he was a decent person. Professional mourners are hired. Yes, people who cry on demand. The louder the grief, the more respectable the deceased appears. If no one cries, Maybe he doesn't even make it into paradise. But burial, even a simple one, requires ritual. First, purification. The body is washed with Nile water, essentially a bath in sacred bacteria, then anointed with oils, resins, and salt. That's if you're rich. If you're poor, maybe just salt. And a clean cloth, if available. The real luxury is mummification, a process that takes weeks, performed by specialists in turning flesh into artifact. It begins with removing the organs, the stomach, intestines, lungs, and liver, placed into jars known as canopic jars. The heart stays. The brain, on the other hand, is thrown away, literally pulled out with a hook through the nose and discarded. According to local wisdom, it's not good for much. The body is then packed with natron, a mineral salt, and left to dry for 40 days. After that, the body is stuffed with linen, resins, amulets, maybe a stray beetle or two by accident. Then it's wrapped in bandages with almost architectural precision. All of it to make sure that in the afterlife, you arrive whole and properly dressed. But you're not getting that treatment. You'll be buried in a shallow pit, a wooden board laid over you, maybe an offering of bread and beer. If you're lucky, a small Eye of Horus amulet. If you're even luckier, someone who remembers you for more than 2 weeks. The funeral procession is modest. A few people walk with you, mumble some generic words, and head back to work before the midday sun. Your grave is marked with a stone, your name spelled a little wrong, and a sincere hope that your soul doesn't come back to haunt anyone. But the real drama starts after death. Your soul is guided to the court of Osiris. There, your heart is placed on a scale beside a feather, the feather of the goddess Ma'at, symbol of truth and order. If your heart is lighter than the feather, congratulations. You enter the field of reeds, the Egyptian version of paradise. Fertile fields, fresh bread, endless beer, and no waiting in line for anything. If your heart is heavier, well, that's when Amit shows up. Part lion, part hippo, part crocodile, all appetite. She devours your heart. And that's it. No reincarnation, no memory, no second chance, the dreaded final death. To avoid that fate, you need a good book, the Book of the Dead, a collection of spells, instructions, and ready-made phrases to repeat during judgment. Think of it as a spiritual defense manual. Of course, only the wealthy get illustrated copies. You, if you're determined, might try memorizing a poorly passed-down oral version learned from your neighbor's uncle who once met a scribe. The problem? The court doesn't forgive pronunciation errors. Say one word wrong, and it might sound like you killed a cat for fun. And then, well, you know how that ends. That's why many Egyptians worried more about death than about life. They saved up for coffins, built tombs before houses, made offerings to their future selves, and stored amulets like bank passwords. The obsession with eternity wasn't luxury. It was desperation. Now buried, you depend on the living. Your soul needs constant offerings, food, drink, prayers. If no one provides them, you become a hungry spirit, a wanderer, a begging ghost in the afterlife. But people forget. Quickly. And soon your soul begins to drift, not out of cruelty, just neglect. And that's when you understand that in ancient Egypt, dying is just another branch of public service, a long, exhausting process full of divine paperwork. With luck, the bread is softer on the other side. Daily spiritual life, living so you don't die of fear. You think you understand Egyptian religion. Temples, offerings, gods with animal heads. But in practice, spirituality in ancient Egypt is like a customer service line that never closes. Every aspect of life, from food to sleep, from love to back pain, has a spiritual rule, a matching amulet, and the risk of supernatural punishment. You wake up and immediately begin. A thank you to Ra, the sun god, for returning from the underworld overnight. Because according to the myths, the sun travels through the realm of the dead every single night, battling cosmic serpents, just to reappear in the sky at dawn. And you complain about traffic. Before leaving home, you put on your amulet, maybe the Eye of Horus for protection, or a scarab for rebirth, or a symbol of Anubis if you're feeling spiritually dramatic. Without an amulet, you're basically telling the universe, go ahead, send the bad luck. Superstitions guide daily life. If a cat sneezes near you, that's a good sign. If you trip with your left foot as you leave the house, turn back, drink some water, and try again. If a crow lands on your roof, someone's going to die. If it's you, well, tough luck. There are rituals for everything. Before planting, you offer seeds to the soil and whisper words no one really understands. When you eat, you thank the gods of abundance, even if you're chewing nothing but onion. If a baby is born, the child is presented to the gods in a brief ceremony filled with smoke and vague promises. Your house is covered in symbols, hieroglyphs carved into wood, watchful eyes painted on walls, ceramic cats staring in silent judgment. Sometimes you don't even know what they mean, but you keep them, just in case they work. Dreams are taken seriously too. Dream of clear water, prosperity, of serpents, a hidden enemy, of a flying fish. Depends on the fish. There are dream interpreters in the villages. They charge generously to tell you that your nightmare was probably just badly fermented bread arguing with your stomach. Marriage carries its own spiritual weight. The union is blessed with offerings to Hathor or Isis. But if it fails, which happens often, they say the energies were misaligned. Translation: the groom lied about owning 2 sheep. Even names are spiritual. Naming a child after a god might bring protection or divine anger if the name is used carelessly. So many people choose symbolic names instead. The one who survives. Child of the earth. The ancient equivalent of naming your kid, hopefully long-lasting. Purification rituals are frequent. Herbal baths, mandatory fasting, entire days spent in silence because the spirit needs quiet. Sometimes you purify yourself before entering a temple. Other times, before leaving the bathroom, because in Egypt, even that might offend a god. And of course, astrology. The sky decides everything. Phases of the moon, the position of Venus, the mood of the sun. It all matters. You don't plant if the stars aren't aligned. You don't marry during the month of the crocodile's dry mouth. Yes, that's a real month. And no one wants to test it. Death may be the climax of spirituality, but daily life is training. A constant, don't slip, don't forget, don't challenge the gods. Because any mistake can turn into a curse, and curses in Egypt aren't mild. They might show up as itching skin, disturbing dreams, dried out fields, or the uncomfortable feeling that a scarab on the shelf is judging you. The strangest part? No one really questions it. Everyone accepts it. It's better to follow the rules than risk becoming a public example of spiritual failure. Does it work? No one knows. But everyone continues, because tradition here is stronger than logic. You spend your whole day balancing the real and the divine, carrying mud with your right hand so you don't offend the earth god, tossing crumbs to birds in honor of some ancestral spirit, avoiding certain words near the palm tree because it might be listening. At the end of the day, you say a small prayer, a phrase learned from your grandmother, who swore Osiris listens more carefully at sunset. You whisper it, blow softly 3 times, and that's it. If nothing changes, at least you tried. Love life and marriage together until mud do you part. You wake up and realize it's time to get married. Not because your heart whispered it, but because society looked at you and thought, it's about time you shared your misery with someone. In ancient Egypt, love is a mix of necessity, family pressure, and the availability of onions as a dowry. Marriage isn't an elaborate ceremony with veils and music. It's more of a verbal agreement. You have land? I have a daughter. Done. Sealed with a handshake, a piece of bread, and a mumbled agreement in front of a witness who can barely hear but is present for formality. The proposal often involves gifts. The bride's father receives grain, beer, cloth, or if the suitor is truly committed, a small animal. The bigger the gift, the deeper the commitment. Love is measured in pounds of barley. The bride doesn't have much say. She listens, accepts, prepares. Her dowry might include utensils, clothes, a nice jar, and if she's lucky, a protective charm against vengeful mothers-in-law. The groom gains a wife and the responsibility of not letting her starve. The ceremony is intimate, sometimes at home, sometimes before a small altar with an image of Hathor, goddess of love and relationships that last until the rats eat the promises. The couple is presented to the community, a toast with beer, a shared piece of bread. Officially united, there are no last names. You introduce yourselves as so-and-so, son of so-and-so, husband of so-and-so. Identity is genealogy. Marriage is economic partnership. Together, you manage the house, the field, the religious duties, and the shared illnesses with care and resignation. In practice, love does exist, but it's built daily from tolerance, survival, and the absence of better options. Couples argue, avoid each other, help each other. Sometimes they fall in love. Sometimes they simply coexist. The most romantic thing someone might say is, you carry the wheat better than anyone. Fidelity is flexible. A man may have other women if he can afford to support them. A woman, officially, cannot. Unofficially, it happens, but it's risky. If discovered, she might face separation, expulsion, or in extreme cases, a domestic curse written on her own wall in red ink, and resentment. Divorce exists. Simple, direct, accepted. Declare you're done. Return part of the dowry, or not, and move on. The level of scandal depends on the village. In some places, it's common. In others, it fuels gossip for 3 seasons. Egypt is vast, but tongues are sharp. There are tender moments. Love letters are rare, but they exist. Lines like, I want to be with you, like papyrus bends to the wind, or you're sweeter than dried figs in Amun's shade. Poetic, but practical. Because there are also letters that read, come back soon. The goat ran off, and no one knows where the cheese is. Sex is part of daily life, treated with less shame than in many later civilizations. It appears in art, in texts, in advice, and even in attraction spells. If someone says they were enchanted by love, It might be literal. There are recipes for that. Crush flower petals with wine. Spit 3 times before speaking to the person. At the very least, it's an efficient way to test rejection. Children come quickly, sometimes before marriage. Each one is a new obligation, a new offering to the temple, a new name chosen carefully so it doesn't repeat that cousin who died from a snakebite. Couples have many children, not by choice, but by probability. Half may not survive to see the next Nile flood. Intimacy, when it exists, is quiet. You share space, a blanket, fleas, silence. On colder nights, you share warmth. On hotter nights, you share a mosquito net woven from fragile hope. Affection is subtle. A piece of bread handed over without being asked. Help with planting without complaint. Sitting together in silence at sunset. In ancient Egypt, to love is to survive together, and, with luck, die in the same month. And just like that, you find yourself married, with responsibilities, children, routine, arguments about who left the door open, and a guaranteed future of labor until death. But at least, when someone asks if you have someone, you can answer, yes, and she knows exactly how many onions I owe. Collective fears. When life has its grip on you, and the gods do too, you try to sleep. The day was long, sun, stone, hunger, work, sweat, but your body still hums with anxiety, because in ancient Egypt, sleep is never a guarantee of rest. It's just a poorly planned intermission between the fear of dying and the fear of staying alive. The greatest collective fear? The flooding of the Nile. Yes, the same river that brings food, irrigation, and life can also wipe out your entire village while you're just trying to fry a fish for dinner. If the flood is too high, everything turns into mud and tragedy. If it's too low, the crops fail, famine creeps in, and you start looking at scarab beetles like they might be dinner. When the Nile doesn't cooperate, the priests blame cosmic disorder. And who caused the disorder? Someone must have sinned, or forgotten to pay the incense tax, or thought something disrespectful about a sacred statue. No one really knows, but everyone suspects everyone. The village starts to feel like a tense reality show, just without the cameras. Another common fear: epidemics. Where do they come from? The air? The water? The gods? Foreigners? The stars? The theories are endless. The outcome is usually the same. People sneezing, coughing, dropping where they stand. And the cure? Rest. Onions. Hope. Maybe a sacred hippopotamus mask placed on the sick person, just in case it helps. There are supernatural fears too. Spirits wandering through homes, souls that didn't receive proper offerings, now taking revenge with strange noises at night. And jars that fall for no reason. You hang up amulets, whisper prayers under your breath, pretend that crack in the wall is just a crack. Crime exists. Tomb robbers, especially. The kind of people who dig where they shouldn't, and wake up with a curse on their back, or more likely, a rock to the head because someone caught them. The rumors about supernatural punishments are epic, but the real fear? The gossiping neighbor. I'm afraid of the Pharaoh's decrees too, because, yes, he can wake up one morning and decide your village needs to move 3 miles south, or that every man must report to a brand new construction project, or that the color blue is now forbidden on Wednesdays. The reason? No one knows, but obeying is always safer. Animals bring fear as well. Scorpions, snakes, crocodiles, even a cat giving you a certain look can feel like a bad omen. And if a dog howls at night, someone's going to die. Usually not the dog. Women fear pregnancy, not the baby itself, but the dangers of childbirth, the complications, the possibility of being left alone. Men fear old age, which around here starts at 30, because it means you can't work like you used to. And if you can't work, you don't deserve food. Then there's the final fear, the fear that your soul won't reach paradise. The fear of judgment, the fear of being forgotten. Because in ancient Egypt, dying without leaving offerings behind is like leaving a party without saying goodbye. No one remembers you were ever there. And in the afterlife, that matters. So you live surrounded by fear, small fears, medium fears, epic fears. But you keep going, because everyone's afraid. And somehow, that creates a strange sense of normalcy. An uncomfortable comfort, a habit of expecting nothing and still being startled anyway. You close your eyes, the sound of the wind. A frog croaks somewhere in the dark. A jar cracks on its own. You swallow hard. It's just another night in ancient Egypt. Specific jobs, careers for those who suffer, with style. You think you work hard? Then let me introduce you to the specialties of ancient Egypt. Because here, even suffering is organized. Being just a worker is too vague. There's a whole menu of very specific occupations, each offering its own uniquely exhausting experience, wrapped in a refined touch of handcrafted misery. Let's start with the scribe. The dream job, the envy of everyone. A scribe doesn't swing a hoe. A scribe doesn't haul stone. A scribe sits in the shade and writes. Sounds perfect, until you remember that writing here means spending hours hunched over, carving into clay, papyrus, or walls, and not with a pen and coffee at your side, but with a thick brush and ink made from charcoal, spit, and frustration. Making a mistake, not an option. Fixing it means rewriting everything. One small error can cost you a month of shoulder pain. Artisans are the sad artists of the ancient world. Sculptors, painters, carvers. They create gods out of stone, decorate temples, make tombs look like elite clubs, but they earn little, work endlessly, and ironically, rarely get a proper tomb of their own. Their hands are calloused, their eyesight failing. Their sense of beauty constantly dismissed by supervisors who say, "I don't like it. Do it again." Every couple of days. Blacksmiths live surrounded by fire, smoke, and expectations. They shape tools, weapons, jewelry. And there's always someone complaining, "This axe came out crooked." The problem? They work with bronze, wood, and patience, all in short supply. And their pay definitely doesn't include burn insurance. Boatmen live on the Nile. They transport people, goods, sometimes corpses. They spend days rowing against the current, sleeping on the boat, eating salted fish, pretending not to notice the crocodile lurking nearby. Fall into the water? No one expects you to come back. Bakers make the bread of pain, literally, shut inside, no pun intended. Open ovens, breathing in smoke and flour mixed with sand. Your final product feeds the village and destroys their gums. When a baker complains about back pain, the answer is always, "Yeah, but the bread's crispy." Cattle herders live in constant vigilance, not against thieves, but against animals trying to wander into the Nile or mysteriously dropping dead overnight. And guess who gets blamed? Yes, the same guy who sleeps next to the cow, wrapped in a cloak made of straw and hope. Hunters and fishermen have the thankless job of looking for food that doesn't want to be found. One whole day, chasing an antelope that vanishes into the mist. Another spent waiting for fish to cooperate, while watching a crocodile stare at you like it's thinking, maybe today we switch roles. There are also magicians. Yes, professional magicians. Specialists in spells, amulets, protection rituals, and reading mystical signs. They're respected, feared, and very often blamed when anything goes wrong. Too much rain? The magician. Not enough rain? Also the magician. Kid sneezes? Clearly, the magician forgot to activate the protective scarab. And of course, we have the necropolis workers, the death specialists. They dig tombs, prepare bodies, seal sarcophagi. They know human anatomy well, and the smell of decomposition even better. They work far from the village because no one wants bad luck by proximity. They live among the dead and sleep with one eye open. And you're one of them, one among many, one job among others. None easier, none fairer, just variations on the same theme: sweat, dust, and a faint whistle of despair hanging in the dry air. In ancient Egypt, choosing a profession isn't about following a dream. It's about following the one option that keeps you alive for one more cycle of the Nile. Congratulations. You're a certified professional in suffering, with a defined role. Now, for the grand anticlimax: sleeping with gratitude and full-body pain. After a long, dry, hot, repetitive, sweaty, spiritually exhausting day, you lie down, not on a bed, on a straw mat, with a wooden pillow, and 2 roommates, a rat and a flea who clearly signed a permanent lease. You stare at the cracked mud ceiling. The lamp smoke blends with the smell of the day. Dust, onions, and a hint of quiet desperation. Your body aches. Not the wow, I'm tired kind of ache. The kind that makes you feel like your bones are softly protesting in passive-aggressive whispers. Outside, the sounds begin to fade. A dog barks in the distance. A boatman shouts useless instructions. A baby cries, like every Egyptian baby who suddenly realizes it was born in the wrong place, at the wrong time. You try to sleep, but your mind spins. Typical thoughts. Did I thank Ra today? What if I forgot to leave an offering for Bastet? That spell my neighbor taught me. Was it to keep pests away? Or attract them? And of course, the classic. What if tomorrow's bread has even more sand than today's? Night in ancient Egypt isn't silent. It leans in close and whispers that tomorrow will be just like today. And the day after that? Same story. The only real change comes if the Nile decides to drown half the village with an unexpected flood, or if the pharaoh suddenly announces that all men must now wear triangular hats and harvest onions backward in the name of cosmic order. You close your eyes. Instead of dreams, you get flashes of the day, the sound of stone grinding, the smell of thick, grainy beer, the supervisor's voice yelling, "Faster!" the strike of a pickaxe, the glance of the scribe who doesn't write anything for you, but writes everything for the system. That's it. Life in ancient Egypt isn't an epic adventure. It's not a history lesson. It's a constant bath of dust, sweat, obligation, superstition, and the oddly comforting feeling that, at least today, you weren't cursed for placing an offering on the wrong side. You didn't build pyramids. You carry their stones. You weren't a pharaoh. You were the name that will never be written. And still, you survived another day. And now, with luck, you might dream of something better, like a foam pillow, or toilet paper, or bread without quartz in it. Well, good night. And sleep knowing this. If you think your life is hard, it's only because you've never lived a single day in ancient Egypt.